Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me okay? Our panelists today come from three of Hopeworks' employer partners. They're not just about finding diverse talent, but also making sure these hires thrive. So let's hear from Penn Interactive, Akamai, and Holman about their best practices for onboarding early career talent. Torri LaSmith. Torri is a senior recruiter at Penn Interactive, specializes in full cycle recruitment for corporate and operational roles. With a focus on product, she's expanding into the technical recruitment this year. Previously, Torri worked in the nonprofit sector with organizations like the Greater Philadelphia YMCA and Boys and Girls Club. A proud Temple University alum and Philly native, she's passionate about youth development, DE&I, and advocating for inclusive hiring practices, all while cheering on the Philadelphia Eagles. Jaime is a training specialist at Akamai Technologies. They work in the hiring, training, and onboarding of new members of the Akamai Cloud Computing Support Team. In 2023, they led the training and onboarding of their team's first expansion into Malaysia. Jaime also serves as the North American chair for the Out at Akamai ERG, advocating for the LGBTQIA inclusion organization-wide. Karoline McGuckin, Global Manager of Talent Acquisition at Holman, brings over 15 years of HR expertise. With a focus on aligning talent practices with business strategy, she drives recruitment initiatives and strategic partnerships. Committed to Holman's core values, Karoline shapes the future of talent acquisition, particularly in tech. Leading end-to-end recruitment, she employs innovative strategies to secure top talent globally. Her efforts enhance Holman's reputation as an automotive industry leader. Thank you all for being here. Our first question: how do you define early career talent within your organization? So for you, for Holman, what are the Holman values and how do you support those values within recruitment?
Thanks, Riscee. So at Holman, our purpose is really pretty simple. It's to provide a rewarding career and a meaningful way of life for our employees and their families. And I think realizing that's a perfect tie into what we do in recruiting, providing a rewarding life. And at Holman, we also say that we're in the automotive services industry, sure, but more than that, we're in the business of people. Again, both of those are just perfect tie-ins to what we do as recruiting. I know all of us say that our jobs are the most important, but us in recruiting selfishly say we really are the most important roles within the business. That we are responsible for driving top talent into the organization. And for us, that's really everything. That's the core of what we do.
Thank you. How about Penn Interactive?
Thank you, Riscee. So for us at Penn Interactive, I could go on and on about our values, our mission statement, but instead I'll speak to you about one of our values I think resonates for me and always has. It's our commitment to building the bench from within. So essentially it's our commitment to uplifting, promoting our internal talent, those that we work so hard to attract and retain. So why not help them along their journey, right, and grow with us, especially as early career talent. And our commitment to that has been to launch and scale a formal internal hiring process that gives accessibility, access to all of our internal positions, and will guide you on a path, right? So you're going through a fair, equitable, transparent interview process. And even if you do not get that position, we're putting values in place that allow us to get feedback from the hiring team to bridge the gap, from where you are and where you would like to be as you move forward. So for us, it's building the bench from within.
Thank you. And how about at Akamai?
At Akamai, our mission statement as a company is that we make life better for billions of people, trillions of times a day. That's kind of vague. As a big internet company, our whole purpose is making sure that people connect with each other. So one of the ways that we ensure that we are connecting with our early career talent is by sticking with our team-wide core values, which include things like creating the environment we want to work in, all the way over to making sure we provide our customers the best possible update every single time. As you go through interview processes, whether you are a new hire or building up in the organization, something we look out for is, are you matching these core values? And that way we are able to always use those as our North Star to ensure that we are always focused on making things better for everyone who uses the internet, which I think is safe to say it is all of you.
Thank you. Karoline, what key attributes do you look for when recruiting, hiring, and then onboarding individuals at this early career talent phase?
How much time do we have, right? The list is long. But I think what comes to mind for me with what are some skill sets, it's really agility, being agile, coming in with an open mind and realizing I'm here to learn. I might not know it all, but I'm going to ask the questions that I need to ask. Be willing to pivot, realizing that what each day holds, you'll never know. When I think also about skills too, just talking about personality traits, but more than that, it's a skill set. And that's where I think our partnership with Hopeworks has really been invaluable, realizing that that partnership has thrived on the fact that Hopeworks has prepared the students or early young adults for skill-based work, and that translates so well in a lot of the industries and a lot of the roles at Holman. Holman's diverse in that sense, but again, looking at IT roles comes front of mind, but also call center roles, customer experience roles. A lot of those roles takes a willingness to say, I see the job now, I'm open-minded, I'm ready for what that next step might be, bring it on. So I love that about our partnership.
I love that. Torri, do you want to add anything?
Absolutely. Similar to what you said, adaptability always comes to mind. Change is hard, but it's constant, right? And it's even something that in my career I'm really trying to work towards. And so I love when candidates ask the question. I always say just be open-minded, flexible, commitment to learning, right? You can always learn something new. So take the initiative to reach out to your coworkers, right? Learn from your business or the product, and do some research into what the market is showing, right? So what are the trends telling you? What's the data showing? And is there a skill that you could maybe upskill in or get a certification or go through a boot camp to make yourself that much better? So adaptability, flexibility, and your commitment to learning are three, I would say, skill sets, hard skills, soft skills, we encourage.
Great. Torri, expanding on that, could you share some specific strategies or programs your organization has implemented to ensure a smooth onboarding process for this early career talent?
Yeah, absolutely. So specific to early career talent, when we launched our partnership with Hopeworks, with some other community partners, it was honestly a task for us to find a department or an area that we could build a framework that supports folks who are very early in their career. So our customer service team, we refer to that as player experience. Essentially, we built an onboarding process that would help walk you through a very intensive onboarding process. So we're in the sports betting industry. It's highly regulated. There are so many things that you have to do before you even get to day one, and it could be a little bit overwhelming. So it took for us as a team to pull in recruitment, HR, our licensing team, our training team, and then our customer service managers and supervisors set up reoccurring biweekly check-ins just to talk, right? Where are candidates at in the onboarding process? Where are folks struggling? Is there anything that we could lean on Grace and Hopeworks for to provide context for things that maybe we're not seeing from our perspective? So it's about finding an area where you can start to lay the framework and then expanding that approach all the way across the business.
I love that. Jaime,
Yes.
in what ways do you actively foster an inclusive workplace environment for early career talent, ensuring their voices are heard and valued within the organization?
Well, one of the things that Akamai Compute Support specifically has done is we have an incredibly strong feedback culture. We make sure that feedback can be delivered to anybody at any time and make sure that door always stays open. That being said, there's also challenges to that, right? I know when I came into Akamai, I was skeptical of just somebody being like, yeah, give feedback to your boss. That's incredibly scary on your first day. So I think something we need to do is make sure we give people multiple touch points throughout their career and make sure that we almost network a little bit for them. Not only do you have your direct manager, you have the trainer you're working with. We have peer partnership programs. We have opportunities that are set within your onboarding schedule to meet with trainers and talk about how onboarding went so far. We want to open as many doors as possible, and that means making sure multiple people are checking in, making sure that even in a virtual world, we make our team an open environment. We leverage things like ERGs to make sure that people can meet people outside of their teams that might share demographics, share things in common with them that they might have an easier time open to than the people who are placed directly in front of them. We have a vast web of support at Akamai, and what, from my experience, is the best way to set people up for early career success is not setting a mentor up directly in front of them, but making sure they understand how to navigate that web to find what they best need. Remember, everyone's journey is their own. You're never going to find a 3-point system to make someone feel welcome. What makes you feel welcome isn't going to make you feel welcome. Sorry for pointing, but I wanted to make a point.
First day feedback to your supervisor. That sounds great.
I tell people, I'm the one that sits in front of people, and I'm like, you can give feedback to the director of your department, and they're like, no, I cannot. And I'm like, let's do it together.
There you go. Well, going from that into mentorship, which is very important. Karoline, I would love for you to answer this question. What role does mentorship play on the onboarding process for early career talent within your organization? How do you match mentors with mentees to ensure effective support and guidance?
Great question. And I think it touches on a lot of what Jaime just talked about. And you mentioned, mentorship isn't that day one, let's hit the ground running, here we go, here's your buddy, we're off to the races. It's going to look a little bit different depending on the person, the individual, the situation. But at Holman, we do offer a true mentorship program, one-on-one pairing, mentor-mentee based on skills, personality, desired career pathway, which is wonderful, and we're proud of that. But more than that, we look at coaching as a huge part of mentoring. So coaching can be as formal for us as a partnership with a BRG that we have, Women of Holman, and a Rise Up Women group. And that's formal coaching that really we found a lot of success in early career females. But informal coaching, Jaime and I were talking earlier around what does that look like if I'm not truly your manager, but if I'm, downstream, or we have a different relationship where I feel comfortable to say, how does this sound? I want to make that next step 12, 18 months into my career, and you as a manager of my manager or a different relationship, where's that comfort level? And if we have that and we feel that we've built that at Holman, that's a setup for success for early career individuals, I think, for sure.
Awesome. Mentorship and these strategies all sound amazing, right? However, we know that it's not a perfect world. So I would love to hear about some times when things don't go as planned. Let's start with you, Torri. Can you discuss any challenges your organization has faced in onboarding early career talent, particularly in terms of diversity and inclusion, and how have you overcome these challenges?
Absolutely. So from a challenges perspective, I think as an organization, if I'm being realistic, right, we overlooked the experience of those who are, again, early into their career, and especially if you're thinking about working with individuals who may be in underrepresented communities, onboarding, pre-boarding in itself is a challenge, right? Asking folks to go from, let's say, working in a retail environment where you're in person 5 days a week and now transitioning to a fully remote or hybrid environment is also a challenge, right? So we would look at retention, right? Pulling some metrics around how long folks are staying, who's dropping off, and looking at that data to say, okay, here's where we could probably do better. But when you're working with specific groups, you have to be in tune with their realities or some of the things that others are dealing with, right? And so for a seasoned professional, you going to a remote environment, no sweat. But if you're young, you've been in class, you're a recent high school or college graduate, that could be a major adjustment there. So that's just one of the many challenges, but I think it really boils down to being in tune with your demographic and being prepared, educated to walk with those individuals in their journey.
Thank you. Jaime, can you also share?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because on top of all that, something that I've thought about recently is the high school class of 2020, who famously didn't walk at graduation, didn't have their proms, mostly didn't go to college, are graduating college this year. So we are now having people enter the workforce who, due to everything, pretty much have not had the opportunity to work either in person or remote, just because those opportunities got less and less. So we are now dealing with people who have a whole different view of the workforce than we ever had before, just because they've never had that opportunity. So I think it's really important to also just like observe how these people work. I hinted at kind of how we have 5 core values that we use to guide all of our hiring. One of core value number 4 specifically is we create the workplace we want to work in. So we also want to look to those people and be like, how can we change our workplace to be better for you? Because you're a new entry-level employee, so you're the future of Akamai. Like, we are also investing in you. So I think not only do we need to solve for the own problems we're seeing, we also need to be empathetic and keep an open ear at the problems that our new talent is seeing. Because they're entering a workforce that, even though, oh, I was going to pretend I'm young for a second. Even though I'm only 13 years older than them, they are entering a workforce that is completely unrecognizable to the one that I entered into.
That's very, very true. Karoline, I'll start with you on this one. Looking ahead, what emerging trends or innovations do you see shaping the future of onboarding practices for early career talent? And how has your organization prepared to adapt to these changes?
Great question, Riscee. I think what comes to mind with looking ahead at recruiting specifically, it's technology, AI, of course, and I know AI has been probably said a million times here today, but with AI specific to recruiting and the platforms we use, so if it's LinkedIn, Indeed, man, we're relying on AI a lot there, and we don't even know it, but there's going to be so much more to come there, so we need to position ourselves as recruiting professionals to be ready to use those technologies to the best of our ability. So technology is one. I think skills-based work too. I know I touched on that earlier, but skills-based work and the skills that are really needed to effectively perform the job is huge. And we're starting to look at that already at Holman through our job descriptions, rewriting those so that they're intentional and really highlighting the skills that are needed for roles. And I think the last thing that comes to mind with trends or the future for us is recruitment marketing. So staying on the forefront, staying competitive. We know that competition is a lot of what we deal with in recruiting, but using our marketing partners to remain competitive. If it's on social platforms, it's meeting the candidates where they're at. As emerging talent, new talent specifically, we need to stay on the forefront there to be able to capture new talent, share with them what Holman's about, get them sold and excited for us to be able to move forward and have that really successful work partnership. So those come to mind for me.
Thank you. Jaime?
Yeah, I agree with everything Karoline just said, but I also want to highlight as well that something we are seeing an increase of is AI resumes, AI used in job interviews, and if you are interviewing, I just want to tell you that we can tell. Sometimes we do see people using AI to answer questions in job interviews, and I think something to always stay focused on is that we're looking for people and not for answers. And that is just something to keep in mind. AI is never going to replace you as a human being. So while I encourage everybody to continue to leverage things, use them as tools, use them to help make you better. Don't let them replace you.
That's great advice. Torri?
I would echo the same from both Karoline and Jaime as it relates to technology, right? Data is huge for us, and I think that in the sports betting industry, something that is rapidly progressing and changing, we need to use the data to keep us honest. So looking from a recruitment perspective of our health metrics, how long does it take to get somebody in the ecosystem, how long it takes to hire, Where are we recruiting from, right? What are our metrics as they relate to our community partners, especially as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion? So using data, using numbers to tell this story is kind of what we're working towards as a recruitment team, as an entire company. And then I think personally for me, it's AI, right? And I really honestly don't know a lot about AI. It scares me at times. So for my commitment to learning, it's really just about diving into that and understanding what that means for recruitment and talent acquisition as a whole. So.
Well, thank you, Karoline, representing Holman, Jaime representing Akamai, and Torri representing Penn Interactive. Can we give them a round of applause for today? Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.